It's no surprise that the Persona series is rich in meaningful symbolism, mostly thanks to Swiss psychologist Carl Jung's ideas. Though, interestingly enough, of the 3 Hashino-era Persona games, P3 is unique in that every Persona user within it serves as a representation of one of the first 12 tarot archetypes that make up a core focus of this particular game's plot. It is my belief that this very fact makes the exploration of the Fool's Journey all the more significant in Persona 3. I mean, the male MC's path is literally called the Journey. But I realize that some of these terms may be unfamiliar or even confusing, so I will briefly touch on Carl Jung's take on the archetype and the tarot before diving into this in-depth character study of the P3 main characters through the lens of the first 12 major arcana. And as a final warning, the very nature of this series will contain heavy Persona 3 spoilers. Persona 3's themes are based on many of Carl Jung's ideas, including those such as the collective unconscious, archetypes, and the use of the tarot to symbolize a person's path to wholeness. Jung proposed that we are all born with the collective unconscious, which contains the shared memories and ideas across humanity. Just as there are similar myths and legends across all cultures, there exist the archetypes that manifest as the persona we use in the game. Archetypes are certain idealized images of a person or a role that transcends cultures and time periods. So, in relation to the tarot, each of the 22 major arcana promote this concept of an individual who begins as the Fool card, gaining wisdom, experience, and essentially what is a soul through the process of encountering each one of the tarot archetypes. Hence, this journey to becoming a complete idealized version of oneself is called the Fool's Journey. For time's sake, I will only briefly cover the Fool Tarot. The Fool's naivete and inexperience is symbolized by the white rose that is held in his hand. Also notice the cliff that he is just about to step off. This is indicative of how the Fool will soon be called to take a leap of faith, and is also representative of the changes that are about to happen when he's not even looking for them. Adding on to that, tarot cards have a possibility of both an upright and reverse reading to them. As for the upright Fool Arcana, it symbolizes that anything can happen and that everything is possible, which is the exact situation that all Persona protagonists find themselves in from the very beginning of each game. Now we can finally move on to the main character analyses. The first archetype that the Fool encounters is the Magician, who is otherwise known as Junpei Iori in P3. In brief words, the Magician helps teach the Fool the value of inner potential and how to give shape to the destiny he so chooses. On one hand, the upright Magician is a great communicator who possesses immense creativity, and he is also the originator of ideas. Notice how Junpei is the idea man when it comes to SEES's fun activities. Ikutsuki only brings up the possibility of a summer trip to Yakushima after Junpei shares his dream summer plans. Junpei is the first to suggest a party and sushi after the team defeats the final full moon boss, and he reminds Akihiko of a lost bet so that Senpai would have to treat SEES to ramen during the final month of the game. All of these things showcase that when the Magician is on your team's side, he can serve as an incredible source of morale and spirit. Going back to Yakushima though, once again, it is Junpei who is the first to drag everyone down to the beach, and later on the one who starts up Operation Babe Hunt. Furthermore, on the beach during the very last day of the Yakushima trip, Junpei comments that a lot of crazy things and revelations had happened on their short stay at the Kirijo vacation manor. Despite this, he says that he has enjoyed the experience. He is then the first one down to the water. So you see, the magician is known for his ability to see the joyful and playful side of life. Plus, he possesses vast amounts of energy. Even Akihiko wonders how Junpei can still be so energetic after everything that has happened. But the Magician Arcana also symbolizes the Trickster archetype. While the Trickster is most commonly used as a reference to the Fool in the Persona games, such as Loki, who's probably the most well-known trickster god in mythology serving as a Fool Arcana Persona fusion, the Tarot of the Magician also encompasses such an image. The same communication skills, creativity, and charisma that aids the magician also possesses the possibility of becoming incredibly manipulative and deceitful. Essentially, it can be difficult to tell whose side the magician is really on. He does what pleases him in the moment. This is perfectly encompassed during Junpei's initial sabotage of and resentment towards the MC during full moon operations in the earlier months. Junpei also lies to Chidori at first about his position in SEES, and he ultimately remains close to her during her detainment in the hospital, even after the reveal that she is with SEES' enemy, Strega. The absolute reverse reading of the Magician Tarot card represents deep insecurity that results in passivity and a lack of originality. Junpei's monologues during summer break, his low energy, and his initial interactions with Chidori openly reveal how insecure he is. On the other hand, this deep insecurity, when coupled with the magician's natural amounts of energy, can translate into brash and reckless action, as is shown during the second full moon on the train and in his attempts to go after Takaya and Jin after the death of Chidori. However, eventually Junpei showcases his growth during the time he spends talking to Fuuka on December 27th. The reason he gives for choosing to fight death reflects how he has carefully ruminated over his ideas before choosing to act upon them, symbolizing his growth from his prior rash nature. Furthermore, his heartfelt one-to-one with the MC on the rooftop in January shows his growth from deep insecurity to a greater self-confidence, and confirms that he is on the MC's and SEES' side as well. See, when the magician is in peak form, he symbolizes the ability to use his inner potential to translate his ideas into action. He is essentially the ultimate miracle worker in the tarot deck. His love for Chidori and refusal to give up on her prompted a genuine miracle in which she sacrificed what was left of her life to revive him from certain death. So, in conclusion, the upright magician teaches the fool how to creatively use all the energies within and around himself to realize his ideas and achieve success. The next archetype that the fool encounters on his journey is the High Priestess, or otherwise shortened to just the Priestess in Persona games. Fuuka Yamagishi takes his post in P3. It is the priestess's job to translate the spiritual or otherwise unknown unconscious realm to the fool so that he may understand it. Just as the magician is representative of masculine energy and intuition, the priestess is the feminine side of this intuitive energy. Since shadows are known as the repressed or unwanted emotions and thoughts of the individual, it makes sense that Fuuka is portrayed in the role of the priestess, since, in other words, this arcana is skilled at moving past appearances and trusting personal intuition, especially when it comes to emotion and feelings. Fuuka's ability to sense the unnatural and generally unknown attributes of the shadows during gameplay as the team's navigator reflects how she mediates between these two worlds for SEES. Fuuka also showcases her keen intuition for the otherworldly during other parts of the story. For example, she immediately understands the implication of Ikutsuki's research on the shadow bosses during the June 20th meeting, and she is able to locate all the full moon arcana bosses, even the ones who try to deceive her, as is showcased in her monologue as she scans for the Hermit Boss. But the Reverse Priestess also makes a showing through Fuuka. The reverse reading of this card is characterized by repressed feelings and excessive trust in the opinions of others versus trusting one's own intuition. Fuuka's insecurities perfectly encompass this negative aspect of this archetype. She accepts the offer to join SEES right away after her rescue because of the validation she receives for her skills as navigator. After Shinji's death, she blames herself for not trusting her intuition when he told her the night before that he would be late to the operation. And also, during her talk with Natsuki on the school's rooftop, she says that, "I used to try to please everyone," which reflects how she focuses too much on what others think of her. Her social link further expands on this concept. For example, she wishes to make things for SEES to express her gratitude, with the unsaid implication of her efforts being to prove herself worthy to them. She doubts her skills and berates herself before she even begins tasks, as is shown when she buys spices to try using in her cooking, but then tells herself that they wouldn't make a difference anyway. However, when Yukari tells Fuuka that friends don't owe each other anything after she enjoys the rice balls Fuuka made, she really begins stepping out of her shell in the social link. Fuuka's confidence also grows throughout the main plot of P3. She showcases the natural talent of the Priestess Arcana to proceed past appearances in order to discover the true nature of Natsuki through the friendship she develops with her. So recall that the Priestess serves as a mediator between the unknown and that which is already plainly known. Fuuka is able to connect Yukari to the truth about her father's research by recovering the original footage of the video. And finally, in her talk with Junpei during late December, she reveals her reasons for choosing to fight and says, "I want to be true to myself," reflecting the move from relying on the opinions of others to trusting her own intuition. Junpei then comments on how strong she has become. So, in conclusion, the Priestess teaches the Fool to look past appearances and to value his own intuition, which ultimately will provide the true answer. The last arcana that will be covered in part 1 of this series, and the third archetype that the Fool encounters in his journey, is the Empress. Mitsuru Kirijo fulfills this role in P3. The Empress is the archetypal motherly role in the tarot and teaches the Fool the joys of nurturing in a loving manner and how there is great happiness found in supporting those around us. For example, she shows her care for all the students at Gekkokan High School through her role as student council president. Plus, she is also clearly the team mom of SEES. This is showcased when she decides to enroll all the members into summer classes, claiming that she'll see to it that all of SEES graduates. Mitsuru also serves as a prominent contrast to Akihiko, the Emperor, especially during the earlier parts of P3. For example, prior to the second full moon boss, Akihiko is saddened that he won't be able to join newbies Yukari, Junpei, and MC in the fight. However, Mitsuru reassures him, telling him to have faith in the three, for they are ready. She shows her care by praising the members of SEES for both their individual talents and group achievements after many of the operations, much like the ideal nurturing mother figure would do. And once again, she serves as a motherly contrast to the fatherly and masculine strength of the Emperor during the Fuuka rescue mission when she worries over the safety of the group and Fuuka, who is still trapped in Tartarus. Meanwhile, Akihiko is prepared to risk everything and head into Tartarus himself so that no one would have to perish under his watch. We can also make the argument that the motherly instinct to protect loved ones first manifested in Mitsuru when she developed a persona in order to protect her father. However, Mitsuru also showcases the reverse aspect of the Empress Arcana. While the reverse Empress Tarot can materialize as being too overbearing and essentially stifling of the individual growth of those she supports, the negative aspects can also manifest as spending too much time meeting the needs of others while neglecting her own. Mitsuru has spent her entire adolescence fighting the shadows and fulfilling her duty to redeem the Cutie Joe group and, most importantly, putting her life on the line to protect her father. Mitsuru's overwhelming commitment to pleasing the Cutie Joe company over her own wishes is expanded upon in her social link, where she is willing to go along with an arranged marriage she isn't excited about for the sake of the company's future. But finally, she decides to stand behind her own wishes when she chooses to reprimand her fiancé for berating the MC. On another note, the upright motherly archetype of the Empress also symbolizes diplomacy and possesses the talent of creating space for those to share their feelings with others. One example is shown after Ryoji's revelation to SEES about the inevitability of the fall in early December. She invites SEES to come together to share their thoughts with one another about this impending doom. But ultimately, the Empress's lesson of connecting in love with those she cares about is prominently reflected in the relationship she develops with Yukari. Mitsuru is able to strengthen her initially shaky relationship with her throughout P3, but the bond really takes off when she begins to do more activities with her, beginning with the Kyoto school trip. It comes to a culmination when Mitsuru decides to nurture the relationships that are important to her, and such an example is showcased through her visit with Yukari in her room in order to talk about a major event approaching in their lives, their decision to fight Nyx. Overall, Mitsuru encompasses the motherly archetype that realizes how a major aspect of love is about understanding and accepting that all individuals have their own goals and dreams that they are striving to achieve. So, to wrap it up, the upright Empress teaches the Fool to nurture the dreams of those he cares about and to support them in their decisions and endeavors. And on that end note, thank you so much for watching this first video in my new series. If you like this, please like, comment, and consider subscribing for more analysis like this. I will continue with the next 3 Arcana, the Emperor, the Hierophant, and the Lovers next time. So until then, take care. See ya!